Hi everyone. Today is Thursday, February the 17th, 2022, and it's been a while. It feels like since I reviewed a book, but today I want to review this book. It's a very old book, Mom and Me and Mom by Maya Angelou. And I read all of Maya Angelou's books, Dr. Maya Angelou's books. I've read all of them. I've had all of them, but I've also given away all of them because I've had them for like I had them for many decades, and I always prefer, when it comes to Maya Angelou, I always prefer to listen to her reading it and listen to her voice and the lilt in the lilt and the melody almost of her voice. Um, it's very compelling, and there's two books of hers. Of course, Heart of a Woman is wonderful also, but and the other one that has all her poetry is also awesome. But there's two books of hers, Letter to My Daughter and Mom and Me and Mom, are two books that are particularly appealing to me. I think these are the type of books that when your soul needs mothering, these books provide it. So I wanted to review it, but there were these particular chapters and sections in the book that I wanted to read out. And there were so many of them, see, I've dog-eared them, that I went ahead and bought this book again. I'm sure I'll give this one away also, because that's what I end up doing. I end up, writing, lining things, making notes in them, and then I always give them away. Because again, I prefer to listen, especially when it comes to Maya Angelou, and that's her. For those of you who do not know who Maya Angelou is, she is I was going to say she's an amazing woman. No, she's a phenomenal woman. And there's a pun there because she also has a book called Phenomenal Woman, which is a small book with like poems. And I think I gave that one away to a girl in my class. I just felt like she needed it. And I was like, you know what? It's just decorating my bookshelf, so here you go. It was so anyways, highly recommend all of her books. This book though, hang on, sorry, it's bothering me that this thing is upside down. There we go. This book though is just very, very special to me, for many reasons. The book title itself, you may wonder, Mom and Me and Mom, like what is that? It's more about her mother and her, as far as before she became a mother. And then the me and mom part is the once she became a mother part. And I think that sort of, if you were thinking about her in a fiction way, which, Maya Angelou is not a fictional character. She's a real person who has lived on this planet. But if you think about it in terms of like character development and character progression in a novel, this book really takes you through that. And for that reason, it is, I think this book is incredible on so many levels. On the one hand, it's all those sort of like mistakes that your mother may make with you, and then all of that sort of healing, maybe, probably healing is the right word, that takes place once you become an adult, and you can hopefully heal those things. Anyways, I'm going to read out a few sections. I may or may not go in order. Actually, wait. First, I will play back, and I hope none of my Angelou's people get on me about copyright and all that, because I just want to read out. Well, I want her to read out this section. This is a very famous quote of hers. If you ever just Google, love heals and liberates. That is that's like on every little thing on every like mug or whatever, it'll say that kind of quote. So hopefully this won't get me into too much trouble. It is a 30-minute clip in her voice, so you know why I like to listen to her voice saying this. So here you go.
Love heals and liberates. I use the word love not meaning sentimentality, but a condition so strong that it may be that which holds the stars in their heavenly positions, and that which causes the blood to flow orderly in our veins. This book has been written to examine some of the ways love heals and helps a person to climb impossible heights and rise from immeasurable depths.
Yeah. I just love her voice. I didn't think I'd get teary-eyed just listening to her voice. She's so amazing. All right, let's begin. Okay, so some background about Maya Angelou, whether you know this or not. I'll assume that you don't. So Maya Angelou was, I guess, her parents got married, and then they decided that they didn't want to be married, and they decided that neither of them wanted to take care of children, and so they sent Maya Angelou and her older brother Bailey off to Stamps, Arkansas, to be raised by their paternal grandmother. And the paternal grandmother was, she was very conservative sort, and like I say conservative, I don't mean red blue, because I know that word gets taken like that. She's very traditionalist, and in one of her other books, actually, she describes a lot of how her grandmother used to do business, and how her grandmother raised her really in those very, very formative years of hers. And then finally, when she was maybe 12 or so, her mother called for both of them to come to California, where she was. And I don't know where her father was. Oh, yeah, actually, where her father was is in the book, and that didn't go down so well when they met, etc. I won't give away any spoilers with that. But when her mother lived in San Francisco, actually, and her nervousness at her, at having to meet her mother, and at her reticence at how is this going to go down and stuff. So like this part, okay. By the time the train reached California, I'd become too frightened to accept the idea that I was going to meet my mother at last. My grandmother took my hand. "Sister, there's nothing to be scared for. She is your mother, that's all. We're not surprising her." Grandmother rocked me in her arms and hummed. I calmed down. When we descended the train steps, I looked for someone who could be my mother. When I heard my grandmother's voice call out, I followed the voice and I knew she'd made a mistake. But the pretty little woman with the red lips and the high heels came running to meet my grandmother. "Mother Annie, Mother Annie." Grandmother opened her arms and embraced the woman. When Mama's arms fell, the woman asked, "Where's my baby?" And sorry, I'm saying it in this sort of accent because that's how I remember Maya Angelou saying it. Not specifically. I mean, she uses a very, very proper. I love Maya Angelou's accent. It's like this. It's this very southern African American sort of an accent. And I know that all Americans think that Americans don't have accents, only Indians have accents. But no, I'm sorry, everybody has an accent. It's just which accent you have. And I love that accent. In fact, let me go off on a tangent here. When my oldest baby, because she's my first, my firstborn, went to daycare. She went to a daycare called Jubilee Academy, and it's run by a black family. And the oldest lady, the great grandmother of their family, I was going to say of their clan, because it was really like, it was such a wonderful, wonderful family. And I may have become an honorary family member. I think of myself as a family member with them, because like they're just so warm. So, anyways, Miss Kate she's still around, and Helen Hardy, an amazing, amazing woman. I love listening to Miss Kate because Miss Kate sounds just like Maya Angelou, and she also makes this amazing fried chicken. Holy shit, I've never tasted fried chicken like that. Oh my god, because one time I went for like one of their family parties at their home. Anyways, that's a much longer tangent, because that was like a party at some cousins of a cousin of someone else. And anyways, Miss Kate, hi. Miss Debbie, hi. Miss Janet, Mr. David. Yeah. But anyways, so I love that accent, and that's why I'm reading it out in that sort of way. Not doing a very great job of it, but still, however my memory registers it. Grandmother opened her arms and embraced the woman. When Mama's arms fell, the woman asked, "Where's my baby?" She looked around and saw me. I wanted to sink into the ground. I wasn't pretty or even cute. That woman, who looked like a movie star, deserved a better-looking daughter than me. I knew it, and was sure she would know it as soon as she saw me. "Maya, Marguerite, my baby!" Suddenly I was wrapped in her arms and in her perfume. She pushed away and looked at me. "Oh, baby, you're beautiful and so tall. You look like your daddy and me. I'm so glad to see you." She kissed me. I had not received one kiss in all the years in Arkansas. Yeah. I'm going to get to more sections here. You've got to read this book. It's amazing. And it's not even that expensive. Like, I bought this on Amazon. I think the hardcover is cheaper than the soft cover. I don't know why. Because, it takes more material and it's stronger and sturdier for hardcover rather than paperback. Then she was getting to know her mother, and she felt like, she wanted to call her. She wasn't able to call her mom, so she decided on a different name. And the whole interaction between how her mother introduced her new name to the family was very nice. I've dogged through that. You should read it because it's a very humorous section. I'm going to read. Let's see. Oh yeah, this is a wonderful part. Okay, so this section that I'm going to read now comes from the part where after she had her own child and had left her, and I can't say when she became an adult because she had her baby when she was like 16 years old or so, Maya Angelou that is, and she left Vivian Baxter, her mother's house, because I guess she wanted her own independence, and she would go back every now and then, I think on a certain day of the week, she would go and have lunch with her mother, and this interaction between her mother and her about how she kind of believed in her, I think was it's a very healing one. So I want to read it out. There was no money in my budget for restaurant food, so I and my son Guy were always loyal, if often unhappy, diners at Shade Jefferson. So she understood and encouraged my self-reliance, and I looked forward eagerly to our standing appointment. On the occasion, she would cook one of my favorite dishes. One lunch date stands out in my mind. I call it Vivian's Red Rice Day. When I arrived at the Fulton Street house, my mother was dressed beautifully. Her makeup was perfect, and she wore good jewelry. After we embraced, I washed my hands and we walked through her formal dark dining room into the large, bright kitchen. Much of lunch was already on the kitchen table. Vivian Baxter was very serious about her delicious meals. On that long ago Red Rice Day, my mother had offered me a crispy, dry roasted capon, no dressing or gravy, and a simple lettuce salad, no tomatoes or cucumbers. A wide-mouthed bowl covered with a platter sat next to her plate. She fervently blessed the food with a brief prayer and put her left hand on the platter and the right hand on the bowl. She turned the dishes over and gently loosened the bowl from its contents and revealed a tall mound of glistening red rice, my favorite food in the entire world, decorated with finely minced parsley and green stalks of scallion. The kitchen and salad do not feature so prominently in my taste buds' memory, but each grain of red rice is emblazoned on the surface of my tongue forever. Gluttonous and greedy negatively describe the hearty eater offered the seduction of her favorite food. 2 large portions of rice sated my appetite, but the deliciousness of the rice made me long for a larger stomach so that I could eat 2 more helpings. My mother had plans for the rest of her afternoon, so she gathered her wraps and we left the house together. We reached the middle of the block and were enveloped in the stinging acid aroma of vinegar from the pickle factory on the corner of Fillmore and Fulton Streets. I had walked ahead. My mother stopped me and said, "Baby." I looked back to her, and also like the way she says it, "baby," like, I don't know, it's just like only Miss Kate and Maya Angelou can say that word and sound right. I looked back to her. "Baby, I've been thinking, and now I'm sure. You are the greatest woman I've ever met." I looked down at the pretty little woman with her perfect makeup and diamond earrings and her silver fox scarf. She was admired by most people in San Francisco's Black community, and even some whites liked and respected her. She continued, "You are very kind and very intelligent, and those elements are not often found together. Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, and my mother. Yes, you belong in that category. Here, give me a kiss." She kissed me on the lips and turned and jaywalked across the street to her beige and brown Pontiac. I pulled myself together and walked down to Fillmore Street. I crossed there and waited for the number 22 streetcar. My policy of independence would not allow me to accept money or even a ride from my mother, but I welcomed her and her wisdom. Now I thought of what she had said. I thought, suppose she's right. She is very intelligent, and often said she didn't fear anyone enough to lie. Suppose I really am going to become somebody. Imagine. At that moment, when I could still taste the red rice, I decided the time had come to stop my dangerous habits, like smoking, drinking, and cursing. I did stop cursing, but some years would pass before I came to grips with drinking and smoking. Imagine, I might really become somebody someday. Oh, Maya Angelou became somebody, all right. Yeah, wow. There's this other great section. I know this is a very long video. If you listen to her book, her audiobook, it's only 4 hours long. So I feel bad if I make a video that is like an hour-long video to review a 4-hour book. But I have so much to say on this. As does her mother, in a way. Even like she says, her mother has this habit of saying, when she stepped in the door, I was ready for her to say, "Sit down, I have something to say." But instead, she did blah, 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 blah. And then, and she's like, and Maya Angelou was complaining, and her mother said, "Sit down, I have something to say." I had been expecting that, and I sat down. Some things are just so, yeah. But now I'm going to read this one part of the book that is, I think it's my favorite part. It's chapter 27. I have read this section every time things have been shitty for me. Like, you know, however it is, like work wives, or like anytime, like anytime you're having like a shit time in your life. Chapter 27. This is a time when she's in her 40s, I think, and she went to Stockholm because they were making a movie out of a screen. She wrote a screenplay, and they were recording, and they were making a movie out of it. And so she went there, and all she had to do, I guess, was to, or not all she had to do. She went to watch the movie being made. She wanted to learn how to set up lights and all that, and how to set up a stage, and she also wanted to learn. She wanted to learn movie making, and she was obliged to braid the actress's hair because no one in Sweden knew how to do African American hair. So that's why, or the cornrows or the braids. She was the only one who knew how. So that was what she was supposed to do there. But they were being real tools with her afterwards, and not the Swedish people, her own people, like the people, her group of like actors and all. The main lady, she didn't want her there on the set anymore, and the main actor guy, he was also, being stupid with her after having complimented her and all that. And she was having a really rough time feeling like marginalized like this. And I think like when you read the whole thing, you get it. But my summary, my analysis of what was going on is they felt threatened by her because she has a very, very larger than life type of a presence and wisdom. And it's obvious that she's better than anyone on the planet, at least in my opinion. So I think her, whatever that lady was, the well-known American stage actors and a couple movie actors, I think maybe those guys were getting a little bit threatened by her, and so that's why they were being difficult, and she was having a hard time. And so she calls her mother, and her mother stays with her for the duration of that, and it's very encouraging. And this paragraph really illustrates her poetic style of writing. Winter in Stockholm is hardly bearable. The cold assails the body, and the darkness assaults the soul. The sun rises in the winter, or attempts to rise, at least by 10 a.m. By 3 in the afternoon it returns, shamefully, to the dark, and it rests there until the next morning, around 10, when it tries again to shine. Okay, then all the crap happens with her workplace. And then, like, she gets pissed with somebody, and she has an argument with the main guy. And then I went back to my hotel room. I called my mother. I didn't use lady or mother. Mom, I need mothering. If you have ever done any, I need it now. I'm sending you a check, and as soon as you get it, please book a flight and come to Stockholm. She said, baby, if any plane is leaving San Francisco today for Sweden, I will be on it. You pick me up tomorrow morning at the Stockholm airport. I knew that if she said she was coming, she was coming. I sat at the airport waiting for my mother to mother me. The plane arrived at last, and I went to the area where I could see my little mother come down the steps, tipping in her high-heeled shoes. She was in her typical Vivian Baxter dress, carrying a sable stole, and her sparkling diamonds were flashing. I waved at her, and she waved back with a little military salute. As soon as she was through security, we embraced. Let me get your bags. No, have somebody pick them up and keep them for us. You take me to the bar. I see you know where it is. So, of course, I took her to the bar. My mother said to the bartender, give my daughter scotch and water whether she needs it or not. I'll also have a scotch and water. You have whatever you like, and give everybody in this place a drink. My smart, glamorous, sophisticated mother sat back in her stool. As usual, she was in charge. She turned around and faced me directly. Baby, let me tell you something. A horse needs a tail more than one season. What on earth did that mean? I sent for her because I needed her desperately, and she had arrived with this completely befuddling wisdom. I asked, please say that again. A horse needs a tail more than one season. You see, a horse that thinks once summer is over it can get rid of the appendage stuck in the back of its butt, which it doesn't even have to look at, is a damn fool. If the horse lives, spring will come, and the flies will be back, and the flies will begin worrying the horse. And when the flies aggravate the horse's eyes and ears, the horse would give anything for just a moment's peace. Baby, now they're treating you as if you are a horse's ass. Let me tell you something. All you have to do is get your work done. If these people live, they will come back to you. They may have forgotten how badly they treated you, or they may pretend that they have forgotten. But watch, they will come back to you. In the meantime, Mother is here. I will look after you, and I will look after anybody you say needs to be looked after. Any way you say. And that always makes me laugh, because there's other couple of vignettes of her mother and violence and guns, and like her mother's a tough woman. Like, you know, I don't know to use any guns or weapons and things. I've never held one of those things in my hand, but her mother is so bloody tough that it's like that irony in that sentence, especially when you hear it from how Maya Angelou says it. It's like it reminds you of all the times, like, you know, she'll pat her purse and go like, I'm here to go all the way. How far are you going? Like she's something. In the meantime, Mother is here. I will look after you, and I will look after anybody you say needs to be looked after, any way you say. I am here. I brought my whole self to you. I am your mother. Yeah. Each morning I went to the location to braid the star's hair. Each morning, until I finished, the crew would hold up action. They would not hang up lights or arrange cameras. The director and the actors stood together in silence until I left. For the first few days after my mother's arrival, I used all my control to hold back the tears. Slowly, I allowed my mother's presence to strengthen me. And as I crossed the little lawn adjacent to our building, I would see my mother standing in the window with a cup in her hand and a big smile on her face. I would take the glass elevator up to her floor, and my mother would greet me with a steaming hot cup of coffee. She said the same thing every morning. Hi, baby, come in. Here's some coffee and a kiss for you. Having her there, kissing me, offering me coffee, made me feel like a little girl, like allowing me to sit in her lap. I stopped feeling sorry for myself. And you know, that as a mother now, it really reminds you of the need for routine in children's life. You know, like they like that same. A child needs sameness, or at least some elements of their parent to stay same and stable, that are like, you know, dependable. And yeah, it's yeah. My mother made fried chicken, mashed potatoes, greens, cabbage, or kale. She would always buy a dessert. The bar was always stocked. She was a raconteur and would entertain my friends as if they were her friends. My mother was irresistible when she wanted to be, and everyone fell in love with her when she wanted them to. I noticed after a while on the set, people started treating me differently. At first, it was a little off-putting. I began to wonder what made them change, and I'm skipping paragraphs here. One morning, as I was leaving, the director said I didn't have to leave the set anymore. What happened? Why did they change their ways of treating me? I came to the realization that it was because I had a mother. My mother spoke highly of me and to me. But more important, whether they met her or simply heard about her, she was there with me. She had my back, supported me. This is the role of the mother. And in that visit, I really saw clearly, and for the first time, why a mother is really important. Not because she feeds and loves and cuddles and even mollycoddles a child, but because in an interesting and maybe an eerie and unworldly way, she stands in the gap. She stands between the unknown and the known. In Stockholm, my mother shed her protective love down around me, and without knowing why, people sensed that I had value. I never stayed at the shoot. After I finished braiding the star's hair, I counted on luck giving me another chance to learn movie making. Mother understood. She said, "You are my daughter. Don't take tea for the fever. You are your own woman." I listen to that all the time. Okay, this is another really good excerpt. It's one where Maya Angelou counsels her mother's fourth husband, like on their love life. It's a very funny excerpt. I won't read it though. Yeah. There's also a very nice one when her mother became very old and very sick, and she had her stay with her. And she said, it's quite funny actually. Each time I packed to leave, because at this point, Maya Angelou was a professor at North Carolina. Oh yeah, wait, actually, let me read this bit first. My mother's gifts of courage to me were both large and small. The latter are woven so subtly into the fabric of my psyche that I can hardly distinguish where she stops and I begin. The large lessons are highlighted in my memory like technicolor stars in a midnight sky. I met loves and lost loves. I dared to travel to Africa to allow my son to finish high school in Cairo, Egypt. I lived with a South African freedom fighter for a while. I'm trying to skip portions, but her marriage basically failed, and then and she was in Ghana at the time. My mother wrote to me and said, "Airplanes leave here every day for Africa. If you need me, I will come." Her love and support encouraged me to dare to live my life with pizzazz. I was offered a lifetime professorship at Wake Forest University as a Reynolds Professor of American Studies. I thanked the administration and accepted the invitation. I would teach for 1 year, and if I liked it, I would teach a second year. I found after teaching 1 year that I had misunderstood my calling. I had thought that I was a writer who could teach. I found to my surprise that I was actually a teacher who could write. I settled in at Wake Forest University to be a teacher for the rest of my life. My mother complimented me on my decision and said I would do wonders. Which is also, like in terms of the need for parents' imprimatur, like seal of approval, so to speak, on a career choice, say, of a child. And I say a child, even though a child isn't, not a minor child, but an adult child. It's so important, and that too is highlighted so beautifully here. So anyway, so she has to go off to, do her work, and each time I packed to leave, I noticed a kind of, and this is fast forwarding to like when her mother was much older and sick, and so she was keeping her with her. Each time I packed to leave, I noticed a kind of holiday spirit in the air. My mother would hold my hand and kiss my cheeks. "Oh, baby, mother is going to miss you. You have a good time and come back soon. Mother needs you," she would say. The car taking me to the airport would be hardly out of the driveway when my mother would call all my employees from the office and the house and inform them that she and Aunt Aria were taking them to lunch at a local seafood restaurant. She had booked a limo for her and Aunt Aria. "Get ready, let's go, and let's eat." That kind of her mother almost seems like very, I was going to say immature, but it's clear that she is like the sort of more conservative, mature one relative to her mother, and that kind of contrast is just so amusing, even vicariously. In this, she describes the night before her mother passed. Vivian Baxter was in a coma. She refers to her mother by her proper name, but she doesn't just say mommy or mama or anything. But you have to really understand the dynamic before you make any judgments on why she calls her mom by her by her name like that. Anyways, Vivian Baxter was in a coma. I spoke to her anyway. Her hand lay in mine without movement. The next day I hired 3 women to sit with her in shifts of 8 hours each. You don't have to nurse her. There are nurses here to do that. I only want you to hold her hand. If you have to go to the toilet, let someone else hold her hand until you return. I want her to have human contact as long as she is alive. On the 3rd day after I returned, I went to visit Mother. I took her hand and said, I've been told some people need to be given permission to leave. I don't know if you are waiting, but I can say you may have done all you came here to do. You've been a hard worker. Black, white, Asian, and Latino women ship out of San Francisco port because of you. You have been a ship fitter, a nurse, a real estate broker, and a barber. Many men, and, if my memory serves me right, a few women, have risked their lives to love you. You were a terrible mother of small children. But there has never been anyone greater than you as a mother of a young adult. She squeezed my hand twice. I kissed her fingers and gave them back to the woman sitting beside her bed. Then I went home. I awakened at dawn and I raced downstairs in my pajama. I drove to the hospital and double-parked my car. I didn't wait for the elevators. I ran up the stairs to her floor. The nurse said, she just left. You know, that bit really, that whole thing about no matter how far you are, like a parent and child, like, when something happens to the other, that kind of thing, it really showcases that, or really spotlights that, I should say. The nurse said she just left. I looked at my mother's lifeless form and thought about her passion and her wit. I knew she deserved a daughter who loved her and had a good memory. And she got one. Excellent book. Highly recommend. Much more than just these gems that I read. Thank you for listening. Bye.